This is Niki Rowland for the Shimmerz Paints YouTube education team, and today I am going to work on a very colourful layout using this sunburst cut file which is available in the Silhouette Design store. It's by Paige Evans, and I'm going to use almost all of the colours of Shimmerz that I own for a really bright and colourful layout. So the first thing I did was cut the template for the cut file on my Silhouette, and I've created kind of like a stencil to use. So I've attached that over the top of a piece of plain white cardstock, and now I'm going to go around and add all of the colours that I have to create a multi-coloured ring of sunshine, rainbow if you like. So I'm starting off with some Shimmerz, Dazzlers and Textures pastes, and I'm mixing and matching. So I'm trying to achieve colours that kind of go ombre style, or at least kind of fade into each other. So like the green, I've mixed a little bit with a blue colour. I've added a bit of Spritz as well to add some extra colour to that. And I'm just going around adding colours in various places around the sunshine cut file. I'm trying to get 3 areas of colour, so you can see that I've got 3 areas of greens and blues and 3 areas of pinks and yellows, and I'm just going to then go around and try and match those up. So I've really gone for lots of different colours here. I absolutely love the way the Dazzlers and Textures go onto the stencil. It works brilliantly. I also wanted to use some of the colours of sprays. You can see I've just done that there. I'm expecting some bleeding to go under the stencil, but I'm not too worried about it at this point. I just wanted at this point to get as many colours in as possible. I've got a couple of gaps, so I'm just filling those in with a silver Dazzlers, and now I'm just going to, before it dries, peel off my stencil from my backing cardstock. The reason for that is that I don't want them to stick together, so it's wet and I'm currently peeling off. Now you can see where I've got a couple of areas where that has bled under the stencil, and that's where I've used the sprays rather than the pastes, but that's fine. I'm okay with that. I was never going for the perfect look. I was happy to have a bit of bleeding. So while I'm setting that aside to dry, I'm now using a piece of paper and I'm fussy cutting all those hearts out of it. This paper was quite challenging to cut from because all the hearts overlap, so I've just done my best and picked out all of the whole hearts and clusters of larger clusters of hearts together that I could, and I'm just going through and doing all of that now. This is the perfect job to do while I'm waiting for my background to dry. I didn't have access to a heat tool at this point, so yeah, I did definitely need to amuse myself whilst I was waiting for that to dry. So yeah, getting on with some fussy cutting here. Okay, so my fussy cutting is now complete, and I'm just going to layer up those hearts over the background, so in a rough position, so I've got some idea of where I might place things, and I need to choose a photo at this point. So I hadn't made this layout with a photograph in mind, so I've got some pre-printed photographs. I'm just going through those now to decide on a photo. I settled on this one, which is a Disney photo and just the one photo. The layout obviously is going to be quite busy with all the hearts and all of that colour in the background, yeah, I wanted to just stick with the one photo ideally. So now I'm adding some extra colour by using some Spritzes and some Dazzlers there. I'm mixing them together to make the colour that I want, and I'm just placing that using the packaging technique onto my layout. That area there is where I'm going to cluster my photograph. So I've just started off with the lightish pink, and now I'm going a bit darker, adding some darker pink there as well. And I wanted to bring in a bit more of the blue colour, so I've gone for that one there, and I've mixed them together and added the blue, there you go, in a few places there, and each time I'm going through and adding some flicks as well with a paintbrush, just making that a little bit runnier. And here I'm using the one of the Dazzlers, and I've watered it down quite significantly so that I can add flicks of that beautiful, beautiful mint greeny colour. So that's how I've done that. So now I've got to wait again for my background to dry. I'm not going to wait too long. I'm going to dab it with some kitchen towel to speed that process up. So now what I'm doing is I'm going to just work on my photograph a little bit. I'm going to mount that on some pattern paper. And then I can actually finally start putting my layout together, which is obviously the exciting bit. So just one paper layer onto my photo at the moment, sticking that directly on and raising up the top of that photo with foam pads, sticking the bottom part flat. I get asked a lot why I do that, and that's partly because I like to have lots of dimension on my layouts. I like my photos to be raised up. However, I also like to put lots of embellishment around the bottom edges of my photo. And if my photo is raised on foam pads, it's obviously on a different level to the background. So that's why I tend to stick the bottom edge flat and raise up the top edge. So I still get that dimension, but I have a nice flat area in which to place my embellishments along the bottom. So I'm just, you can see there that I've got all of the hearts onto the layout. Well, they're loosely arranged. I've also, you can't see on the video, but I've also got some splatters that are in the wrong place, and they wouldn't rub out with my eraser on the end of my pencil. So that gold doily was actually the answer to that. Perfect. There's always something, isn't there? I've been going through my stash trying to use up some older embellishments. I didn't have many from the collection that I'm working with today, which is the Pink Fresh Studio one. So I've really gone through my older stash and pulled out some bits that I'd quite like to get used up. That doily was in there, so I'm happy that was in there because it solved my problem with the splatters that had gone in the wrong place. And I pulled out a few bits of ephemera as well from an older paper collection, plus a chipboard frame, and they've all made a lovely cluster for my photo to sit on. And I pulled out a few acetate pieces of ephemera from an older Maggie Holmes collection too. They don't really go with anything specific on this layout, but they look perfect poking out from behind my photo. So it just goes to show that all of those extra bits and pieces that we have lying around that never get used can be used if we try hard enough, or if I try hard enough. So now I'm just getting all of my hearts stuck in place. I'm raising them all up on foam pads so that my layout has lots of dimension. Just getting all those in place, putting them, I'm trying to aim for kind of colour on colour areas around the starburst. I'm not always going to, it's not going to be perfect, especially because my hearts, some of them are in clusters, so it's very difficult to, if I've got different coloured hearts and they don't exactly match where my colour is on the starburst, it's difficult to match up that way, of course, but I've done my best and it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. So yeah, just going through now and adding lots and lots of embellishments. I do love to have loads of stuff on my layouts. I kind of figure, what's the point of buying it all and then not using it? So I'm guided by the colours. In that piece of heart paper that I've fussy cut, that was how I chose my colours for my starburst background. So I'm now going through and pulling out bits of embellishments that go with those colours and papers that I've used. I'm also adding in some other bits and pieces in the black, just because I think it makes it really pop, gives a good contrast to all of that colour. And now I'm going to try and add my background. Now, I've done this layout on a piece of marshmallow cardstock. It's really tough to cut through, and it's really even tougher to cut through when I've already put all of my embellishments on it. So my trimmer doesn't like it very much at all, but I've just about managed to trim it down and it looks okay. So I'm sticking that onto a fairly plain light blue coloured frame there, just to give it a bit of definition around the edge really. And I'm finishing off by adding in some Pink Fresh stickers from the collection I've been using and some golden hearts there. I love the gold. I love the pop of gold. I think everything. I love everything to shimmer anyway. So, but with that massive gold doily, I needed to bring in some gold elsewhere on the layout as well. So that's what I'm doing, and I'm just going through adding in some of those lovely heart stickers from Pink Fresh Studio. They're great because they're in lots of different colours, and that means I can pull out the colours that I'm looking for those areas around my coloured starburst, and finally finishing off by adding in some sequins, because no layout is complete without sequins in my world. So yeah, that's what I'm doing there. So just getting all of those stuck in place. This is a very busy layout. It's got lots and lots of colour on, lots and lots of embellishments and lots of dimension. So it was a bit of a crazy layout for me, but I really love how versatile all the Shimmerz products are, and how I can make something like this with all of that colour without using much at all, really, just my Shimmerz products and that fussy cut sheet of hearts. So totally awesome. I absolutely loved creating this layout. What fun. Thank you so much for joining me today. I hope you've enjoyed it. I hope you'll give it a go. That was Niki Rowland for the Shimmerz Paints YouTube education team.